What is up? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the ASTROLABE, brought to you by King Pilled. It is Monday, and a Monday it is. Oh, how was everyone's weekend? What's up, Kamarash in the chat? I see Rip, Tricky Woo, Jacob J with the beavers. Hey, we don't do beavers here. We appreciate our beaver friends, but we do oinks in this chat. Let's get some oinks for Pig Dirk. Oh, man. I'll be completely honest. I could have gone live with today's show a couple hours ago. I'd opened most of the tabs, and I was sitting here kind of trying to piece together a narrative out of it all, and was looking for a good story, looking for something to just really got the blood pumping. And there's some good stuff. There's some interesting things going on, but there's kind of a lull. We're kind of in a bit of a lull right now. And the discourse is just oh so awful. There is just so much terrible discourse out there. We're in this liminal space between the election and the inauguration. No one's totally sure what's going to happen. We may be on the cusp of World War III. There might be there's nuclear brinksmanship going on. We saw was it the first use? I believe first use ever, at least first use by Russia of an technically intercontinental ballistic missile, and everyone's just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. But Bitcoin stuff is happening, but everyone's just kind of like wandering around, like we're not totally sure where to go. No one's quite sure what to do or where to go. What do I do with my hands? What's going on right now? And in the build up to the election, there was this anticipation. I sensed this. I think I even talked about this, that there's going to be a fall off after the election, and we didn't even get the benefit of like ongoing legislation and lawfare, or not legislation, but ongoing lawfare and stuff proceeding through the court system on election fraud or all of that. That's what I'd anticipated, and didn't even get that. So there's just kind of this dead lull, and because we are so used to this relentless pressing news cycle and all the different crazy things that are happening. I mean, we've now got a story of the sitting president, the supposed sitting president, who is very suspiciously pardoning his own son. And yet not suspicious at all. We'll get to that here in a little bit. We've got the announcement of a radical appointee or nomination for the FBI director position. And yet everyone's arguing about gay shit. I've really, and of course, as soon as I get going here, I start getting phone calls. Go away, spam. I've really hesitated. I've been reluctant for the last couple of weeks to weigh in on this one particular aspect of the discourse, because it's just so tiresome. And I understand that if I start talking about it publicly, it's like there's this performative thing where I'm like, nobody should be talking about this. So should I talk and say that nobody should talk about this? There's obviously a performative contradiction there. Like this aspect of the discourse is gay and retarded, so I'm going to participate in it by saying it's gay and retarded. I've been like, I don't want to say anything. But I've been pushed over. I've been pushed past my limit. I have to say something. So round about the end of the show here, we're going to talk about the Wifejak discourse and everything going on around that, because I have some takes, and I just feel, maybe against my better judgment, I just feel obligated to weigh in with some takes. So do me a favor, hit the like button. We got 61 in here already. Only 19 likes though, so come on, get the muscle memory. Hit that like button. You maybe got to swipe down on the chat, go up, hit the like button. Do me the favor, give me those precious interactions. Help boost the channel. I do my best to not engagement bait. I don't want to talk about shitty stuff just for the sake of talking about it. That's sometimes why like today I was like, is some of this stuff even worth bringing up or worth getting into? And ultimately I whittled it down to the things that I thought were worth getting into. So hit the like button, and let's get started. Obviously, I am a well-established curator of slop, and so we got to start off with a little bit of slop here. But this is high quality slop. Theo Vaughn has has it out for Keurig. Apparently, he's got opinions about Keurig, and I think I saw someone the other day who described Theo Von in the best way I've ever heard. They said that his special talent is coming up with sentences that no one has ever spoken before or will ever speak again. Just like singularly unique sentences in the English language. This is his absolute forte. So this had me cracking up because I'm my wife and I were talking about the coffee this morning and whether the coffee like after it sits in the pot for a day, I kind of get like I'm not a coffee snob really. I don't drink a ton of coffee, but I'm not a snob about it. But after it sits in the pot for a day, I'm just kind of like, just doesn't. I just don't like the way it tastes. And my wife, on the other hand, will drink literally like if it's coffee flavored water, she'll take it. She lives and dies by her coffee. So this was very apt. I think my phone was listening to me. It heard our conversation about the coffee and gave me this one.
I'll tell you what my problem is with Keurig coffee is that it's nasty. It's not even coffee. First of all, you know as good and well, Mr. Keurig, that it's hot brown water. Dude, I'll drink 9 Keurigs and take a nap, dude. You know what I'm saying? I'll give Keurig to a baby because it ain't gonna do nothing. You want some real coffee, go find somebody granddaddy when they had that cup of that strong sipper. When he woke up and took that hitter, that drip droppity drop, you had to swallow twice to get a dram of it down your throat. That was coffee. That thick, syrupy yang, boy. I mean, that shit would straighten your granddaddy's spine. Scoliosis, no leosis. 2 pots of grandma's coffee is what got the railroads built. And Keurig out here selling this cuppity cup. Oh, the pods, and you pop them and ooh, French eat a dick dead. Keurig, you know you're making bullshit. And that's what's wrong with a lot of men in this country. Y'all drinking that Keurig pod. Get out there, get that little baby sheet, throw the grounds on it, put it in the thing, turn it, shut it, bam, water time. Get that hitter, put it in a cup, and get your life done. Keurig is what's turning all these men into ballerinas. These men out there can't even walk, ain't even wearing boots anymore. They're out there tippy-toeing, shopping for carpet. Drink regular coffee and be a man. That's what I'm saying, dude. So I don't mean to get violent there or get fired up. But Keurig should be held accountable. There should be a class action suit against Keurig for turning all these men into straight white-ass. Because that ain't coffee you're selling. This jumpity water. That's all that is. Dude, I had 2 cups of Keurig, woke up wearing a thong. What's going on? Something isn't right. Drink regular coffee. Get the grounds. Get that little upside down baby hat. Put the grounds in the hat. Put it in the thing. Water. Top closed. Button. Wait. Hot pot. Put it in a cup. Get that hitter.
I don't know how he does it. But this would have been, I don't even know if this was an ad read. Maybe it was attached to an ad read. It should have been. Like imagine if a company gave you an ad read like this for their product. I don't know if he could, like, it'd probably be kind of dangerous to start like directly calling out Keurig while he's in the middle of advertising for someone else's product. I don't know. It's a Wild West, man. It's a new age. Nobody knows what to do with their hands right now. So you might be able to get away with some stuff. Theo Von embodies the kind of person who'd become an Oracle of Delphi in a lot of senses. Yeah. That's really funny. Rare Barron footage has dropped. Here's our baby Lasan Al-Gaib from Autism Capital, which one of my favorite recreational beliefs is that Autism Capital is Barron, which would make this tweet, I don't know if it would make this tweet funnier or weirder. I don't know. But a couple interesting things to point out in this video. I'll play it.
You want to have drums? What you will have for a birthday?
No, I want like on the television drums.
Like on television, the big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves to play drums. So maybe for birthday, he will get the present.
No, like on the television.
Oh, the big one. Okay.
Okay, so a couple of things here. Number one, the kid likes drums, and I really hope he kept that up. Like I'm imagining, 8 foot tall Barron up there just smashing out solos. I imagine to be very, very good. Number two is he has his mom's accent, which a number of other people have pointed out, which I think is interesting. It speaks to how he was raised. Now, and I think it's pretty well documented that he's very close with his mom and has always been very close with his mom. That she was a very doting, like she's like the model of like an aristocratic mother. Her whole life revolves around caring for her son and taking care of him, and she's very close to him. You know, she's obviously wealthy enough that she could pay just to have the nannies raise him, but she's been very actively present in his life. And yet he's also very close with his father. Clearly has a lot of respect for him. His father adores him and is super proud of him. So there's almost like a model here for aristocratic parenting. You have the wealthy, successful father who's out slaying the dragons, and then you have the doting, elegant, graceful mother who's at home caring for the little prince. So I think it's very good for the national psychology to have this kind of picture present for them. It's also interesting her behavior. You could see how much she's glowing and she's very chatty and talkative and everything. We haven't seen this Melania in a while. She's much more stoic, and everyone attributes it to she's Eastern European, which yeah, I mean that's part of it. Even in being like, this would not be bubbly for most people. This is bubbly for her. But I think I think people probably really underestimate just how personal of a grudge she holds against all of the people for everything they've put her and her family through. And she's stuck by her husband the entire time, even when she would have been an absolute icon if she would have turned on him publicly and abandoned him. Like that might have broken him. Like going through all of that, he's Teflon Don, but like if she'd publicly turned on him and backstabbed him, she would have made out like an absolute bandit, and it probably would have broken him. Whether personally or financially or politically, the PR would have been too much. He would have been donezo. But she's just stuck by him all the way through all of it all. I got a story about that here in just a minute. Let's finish this video. Patrick says, this weekend my brother was trying to tell me that she clearly hates him because he's never seen a picture or video of them even holding hands since 2016. If she hated him, she'd be gone. Yeah, exactly. It's as easy as that. If she hated him, she has gone through way, way more shit voluntarily because she's stuck by him that she had no reason to, apart from her own character as a woman and her devotion to him. It's funny that Trump is not something to, even people who like Trump don't really associate his name with like, iconic moral images or anything like that. But the more that I've studied and watched of him the last several months, he genuinely does. This is genuinely one of the best pictures of true aristocratic elite in the world today. Up there with, in some ways, Bukele. Assad is another one. I think Putin has it to some degree. But in the United States, it's basically gone. Stormy Waters and Pete Quinones have I should say, gone from the public eye. It's not gone, but it's been shadowed away. It's been pushed away into the corner where people can't see it. So, what was I saying here? Oh yeah, Stormy Waters and Pete Quinones have a very good series talking about this. Stormy describing his own heritage, and it's really just sad. Like you could pick a lot of different adjectives for it, but it's really just sad how much the heritage Americans' reputation has been completely needlessly soiled. One of the biggest propaganda campaigns of all time that the so-called robber barons have been so slandered. There's a very good reason for that. There's a super chat up here. I'm gonna make sure I don't miss. $5 from Wolfgang Graves. He says, got my first shipment of Alp pouches today. They are very good. I'm jealous. I haven't gotten mine yet. It's good to hear that they're good. I'm not surprised. What flavors did you get? Yes, the most recent Thought Crime Syndicate with Stormy was so fire. Yeah, anything that Astral Flight Simulation or Pete or Jay Burden are putting out, it's just been absolute fire lately. So speaking of Melania and Barron, Mark Andreessen, who has caused quite a stir, talking about the debanking associated with crypto and Operation Chokepoint 2.0, which Trump has vowed explicitly to end. He talked about that on Joe Rogan, and it's just kicked off a whole big firestorm. And one thing that was arisen out of this is the revelation that Melania Trump and Barron were debanked. This is a quote from her book. I was shocked and dismayed to learn that my longtime bank decided to terminate my account and deny my son the opportunity to open a new one. This decision appeared to be rooted in political discrimination, raising serious concerns about civil rights violations. It is troubling to see financial services withheld based on political affiliation. So this is something like, this is not just something happening to, fringe ne'er-do-wells or people. I've seen a lot of the pushback on it being like, oh, well, these are people engaged in crypto scams. Well, sure. But also, no, there were people who were not at all involved in crypto scams whatsoever, who were just swept in the great big net. And the whole nature of a new industry like this is that some of the things are going to turn out to be scams. Some of them are not. And the way you get the ones that are not is by suffering through the ones that are scams. That's just how it works. If you want to have no new industries, then you just prosecute everything as scams because you don't necessarily directly see the value proposition or what have you. So this wasn't just something that was restricted to those people. The literal president and his wife and son were debanked. That's not something that, think about what it would be for the average person to go through something like that. And how disruptive and upsetting it would be to you personally, the level of insecurity that you would feel. Because we're just kind of like, oh yeah, the bank, I just put my money there and it's just there whenever I want it. But then all of a sudden the bank's like, nope, sorry, not doing business with you anymore. And you're like, am I ever going to be able to do business with a bank ever again? I mean, even at a billionaire level, you'd have to be like, someone's probably going to work with me, but that's a level of insecurity nobody wants to feel. So I think it's important to bear in mind that it's easy for us, just from the peanut gallery, to think, whatever, they just kind of went through some stuff, but now they're just going to go in there and just business as usual. No, this is personal. This is personal business for the Trump family, all of whom are actively involved in the day-to-day world of managing the Trump empire. This isn't something that's just going to get swept under the rug and ignored and forgotten. So, talking about power, we've been talking here for a while, and people like Stormy have pointed out that everything is bending toward us right now. The culture is very clearly shifting. There's a huge vibe shift. And yes, much of it is done cynically, but here's the thing. The popular vibe is always cynical. overwhelmingly, if you're going to go and like weight all of the people who are participating in the popular vibe, the vast majority of people are doing it simply because it's the popular vibe, which is cynical. I'm just going to do it because everyone else is doing it, but this is how people are wired. This is just how people behave on a collective level. So pointing out things like these different companies airing ads that are suddenly like glorifying marriage, nuclear family, and white people and traditional values, saying, "Oh, but they're just doing it cynically." You're not saying anything. You're just showing you don't understand what's happening. You don't understand what's happening right now, but you don't have a mental model that can accommodate something like what's happening right now. So with this growing attention and awareness and investment in our world will come certain responsibilities. Like Charlemagne had that great rant on the Pony Express Radio on the old Glory Club stream. It was right after Daryl Cooper was on Tucker and that whole thing blew up. And he said, "We're the elites now. Like we are the people who are setting the tone, who are setting the pace. Everything is turning toward us. So we have to start acting like it." And one thing, I've stopped using the term dissident right, because characterizing yourself as a dissident is, from the outset, is just like you're automatically putting yourself into the reactive, submissive posture. I'm the dissident. I'm the one who protests. It's like William F. Buckley's quote about conservatives being the ones who stand athwart history yelling stop. That's what dissident right signals. So James Kirkpatrick said the point isn't to remain dissident forever. It's to simply become the right and then the regime itself. And Powerful Mutual and friend Vagrant of Rhodes had a good long post on this. He says, power is contagious. It's much easier to attack it from outside the system when you have nothing to lose. But as the new right becomes more accepted, it will gain followers and popularity, beginning a snowball that will become harder to gatekeep. So wielding that power effectively to inspire normies to follow and also ensuring ideological discipline on broader goals and values while trying to get newcomers to toe the line will be difficult, but we must try. Power is both practical and full of risk. Using it maintains entropy. Giving it up creates an opening for others to take it from you. We can't just stay dissidents forever, or else we'll end up like the libertarians, squabbling about philosophical purity while looking from the outside in on real power. We need to take power and have the fortitude and will to actually use it. Not just once or twice, but indefinitely. Not to appeal to the masses, but to inspire them to follow us. We must show them our own courage by not compromising our values and fighting for our people. Mass appeal is a bad idea, as we don't want to dilute what got us here and what drives us. So instead, we should showcase our power. That's the key to growing from dissidents to a mass movement. The masses follow power. The only reason they shut up and grill or supported Troon surgery, DEI, and COVID masking is because the power of the regime inspired and encouraged them to do so. Normies don't need to be appealed to. They need to be shown who is in charge and which way the wind is blowing. Let me say this one more time. Normies don't need to be appealed to. They need to be shown who is in charge and which way the wind is blowing. Ultimately, they will follow, but you have to show them how and why it's worth it. We've already seen this with countless centrists, former Democrats, and celebrities beginning to gravitate towards Trump after the failed assassination attempt. They saw his inherent power and changed course because of it. It won't happen overnight, but I'm confident Trump will show us how to do this effectively. Listen and learn well over the next 4 years about what you can do with real power and how the people naturally follow strength. Remember these lessons when the inevitable regime backlash hits. And then he added, even those who resist you will have no choice but to bend the knee if you can use power efficiently. And here's a photo. The interesting special guest at Mar-a-Lago, sitting right between Trump and Howard Lutnick, is the son of Fidel Castro himself. Note also you've got the Secretary of the Department of the Interior, Doug Burgum, and I recognize this guy, but I can't remember who he is. And same with this guy. I recognize him, but I can't remember who he is. And along these same lines, we've got this. Bernie Sanders vows to support Doge, at least in this one cost-cutting area. Elon Musk is right, he says. This is from the New York Post. Apparently, you can teach an old Doge new tricks. Ha ha ha. Very funny. Lefty Senator Bernie Sanders turned heads Sunday with his support for President-elect Donald Trump's planned new Department of Government Efficiency, providing it takes aim at the Pentagon's cushy budget. Elon Musk is right. The Pentagon, with a budget of $886 billion, just failed its 7th audit in a row. It's lost track of billions, the 83-year-old Vermont senator posted on X. Last year, only 13 senators voted against the military-industrial complex and a defense budget full of waste and fraud. That must change, the independent poll added. Trump had announced shortly after winning last month's election that tech mogul Elon Musk, 53, and biotech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, 39, would serve as co-heads of Doge until it concludes its work by July 4, 2026. Despite the planned new agency's cryptocurrency and meme-inspired name, Doge is not actually a government department, but instead an outside organization that will coordinate with the White House and the Office of Management and Budget to root out waste. And I've seen some people saying, oh, it's not even a real government department. That means it's not going to be able to do anything. And I think the intent with it here, regardless of what the execution will be, but I think the intent here is that it's the fact that it's not an actual government department is a feature, not a bug. Sanders, along with many progressives, has long been an outspoken critic of U.S. defense spending, which he has panned as bloated and wasteful while calling for more resources towards social spending. Last month, the Department of Defense announced it had failed its 7th independent audit in a row, which has troubled both Republicans and Democrats. The department had been authorized to receive $824.3 billion in government money during the 2024 fiscal year, which, incidentally, is less than the budget for the Department of Health and Human Services, RFK's budget, and less than the interest on the government debt. Mike McCord, the Pentagon's chief financial officer, has told reporters that no significant fraud was uncovered and that the department is working toward a clean audit, which will likely be possible several years from now. You might recall that it was announced that there was something like $2 trillion missing, $1.5 or $2 trillion or something like that the day before 9/11, and then that just never got followed up on. Last week, Representative Ro Khanna of California echoed Sanders in suggesting that Democrats are willing to collaborate on attacking potentially wasteful spending, at least in the DoD. Quote, when it comes to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse and opening the 5 primes to more competition, there are Democrats on the House Armed Services Committee who will work with Elon Musk and Doge. Representative Jared Moskowitz from Florida, Democrat from Florida, recently mused that Doge should take a look at reevaluating the structure of the Department of Homeland Security, too. Trump, 78, has long expressed interest in expanding the military's capabilities, which could mean increases in defense spending. Musk, who has spent much of his post-election time at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, replied to Sanders' post with several American flag emojis. Quote, Musk's America's Super PAC wrote in response, quote, sensible spending is not a partisan issue. The general public supports Doge holding government accountable to spend taxpayer money more wisely. Sanders' post drew attention for some of his long-standing adversaries. Welcome home, Bernie, former Representative Matt Gaetz chided. The End Wokeness X account quipped, has hell frozen over? Colin Rugg, co-owner of Trending Politics, added on X, glad you realized Elon Musk is not the problem. The problem is the federal government, which has wasted and lost trillions of dollars of taxpayer money. Ramaswamy and Musk have teased their plans for Doge in a Wall Street Journal op-ed, which entail pushing for executive actions to slash government and then relentlessly fighting foes in court. The two bombastic entrepreneurs have predicted that Doge also will take a sledgehammer to government red tape and help spur more robust economic growth. So a couple things to point out here. Number one, we have legacy media articles being written about stuff happening on Twitter, where we're shifting the flow of news here. This whole thing is being written about something that happened on Twitter, and so what happens on Twitter ultimately makes it downstream to the New York Post, and so they're the ones writing about the news that is happening on Twitter versus being the ones breaking the news themselves. Kate says, honestly, wouldn't mind getting rid of DHS either. Seems to be a relic of GWAT that doesn't seem to serve any benefit. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do agree. So, again, the cynic will look at this and say, "Oh, well, see, he only says he's going to support it, but if they go after the DoD, if they go after the Pentagon budget." And so it's just cynical. He's just trying to get his pound of fat out of it. Yeah, that's exactly how this works. Each person in their own domain decides, well, I'm just going to support it for this little reason here. Like each of these people is a one-issue voter, effectively. But on something as broadly popular as the idea of the Doge, getting all of those one-issue voters together is pretty easy. And the fact that people like these different, like Ro Khanna and Bernie Sanders, this Moskowitz guy, the fact that they think that it's politically palatable for them to publicly endorse Elon Musk and Vivek and Trump by proxy is a continued indicator of where the power is shifting. They simply recognize it. And I think a lot of our guys are stuck in this libertarian mindset of, unless we get 100% purity in the application of all of our ideas and values and absolute full submission and capitulation by all of our enemies, then whoever's doing it for us is a cuck and a Fed and a Jew and whatever else. But you just don't live in the real world. Go listen to some Thomas 777. You're silly. You're just a silly person if you think that that's how the world works. It's all going to be compromised and watered down, and there's going to be wins on one side in order to return for wins on the other side. Because even with a mandate, we still have a system that is comprised of a bunch of elaborate horse trades. So choosing to focus on one side of the horse trade ledger and say, oh, look, see all these things that they're getting, is just self-defeating. It's funny, I listen to people talk about this. A lot of people say, oh, I think Trump will probably do a lot that he promises to, but it's just going to depend on whether or not he has the political will for that. I think Trump would probably, if left to his own devices, Trump would probably do a lot more than he'll be able to, because ultimately he's not going to have the political will to do everything that he wants. Well, what is that? What is that political will? That political will is the pressure from the people. And that pressure from the people is not, oh, well, he didn't give us our thing, so fuck him, and I'm not voting. We need a new person in charge of MAGA, whatever gay stuff people come up with. No, it's the relentless, persistent, constant, consistent, everyday press of we're going to win. We're winning. Every single thing that happens is a win for us. It doesn't matter what it is. Here's how it's a win for us, and here's how we're better off than we were before. I've got a couple of these here today. But if Trump does not have the political will to do all of the things he's promising to, that will not ultimately be a product of Trump himself or the people he has right around him. It will be the product of his base. And if his base insists upon taking the most cynical take on every possible thing, constantly snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, because their minds are hopelessly poisoned by sodomy and nihilism, then yeah, he will ultimately not have the will to accomplish all of the things that he wants to accomplish. This is the interplay between us and them. It's the nature of our system now. It's not democracy, but it's also not like I don't know, some completely hermetically sealed oligarchy that acts wholly independently of the populace. Neither one of these things are true. There is no singular dark room at the very pinnacle of the pyramid of power where a handful of men smoke cigars and play everyone with puppet strings. It's a whole bunch of different competing power centers who have all sorts of overlapping and oppositional position sets that they're constantly rearranging and moving around. Reducing it to any single facet is silly. Nothing has been determined. But our political will, particularly given the fact that everything is turning toward us now, our political will is what will make the difference between success and failure, relatively speaking. A couple more indicators of this. New York Governor Kathy Hochul just broke rank with fellow Democrats and is now saying she'll assist Trump's deportation force to get rid of illegals with criminal backgrounds.
Our immigration system is woefully broken. It's been broken for decades. There was an opportunity to make meaningful change that the Republicans in the House of Representatives killed, and they should be held accountable for that. But we need to fix the border, fix the system. But I'll tell you this, those who come here legally, we want to get them jobs. I have 460,000 open jobs in the state of New York. I want them to get the proper work permits. I want them to keep their temporary protective status, if that's what they have. I want to make sure that they're part of contributing to society while they're here. That's separate from people who are criminals. Someone breaks the law, I'll be the first one to call up ICE and say, get them out of here. So there is a difference in categories of individuals. And so I just had a meeting this morning with my team that's been studying all the scenarios that could play out over the next few months and what we need to do to prepare. And we'll be announcing more about that. And also making sure that our final requests to the Biden administration are secure. And so that's something else, again, I'll do a report on what we've achieved in the next couple of weeks.
So just to be clear, are you supportive or not supportive of deporting undocumented immigrants whose only crime is either crossing the border or overstaying?
Okay, pausing it here. So I can hear the first minute and 16 seconds. She has talked about how she wants to get all these people legalized. She wants to get them all working. She's got all these jobs. She wants all these immigrants to come in and take these jobs. You know, the Republicans, they went and they killed that border security bill. So I can hear the little gears turning. I can hear the guys freaking out. Oh, see, she just wants all this stuff. We don't want any of that stuff. You're completely missing the point here. This journalist, she doesn't miss the point. She understands exactly what's going on here. What you have is a prominent Democratic politician who's suddenly saying, I'll work with ICE. 6 months ago, these people were saying ICE shouldn't exist. ICE is like a manifestation of the Third Reich. And this reporter, she picked up on the significance of all of that. She's a freaking Democratic politician. Yeah, she thinks the Republicans suck. Yeah, she wants to legalize as many immigrants as possible. But in the middle of all of that, she's like, yeah, any immigrants who are convicted of a crime, any violent illegal immigrants, oh yeah, let's get them out of here right away. This is a 180 on one of the key platforms of the Biden, Harris, Obama power segment. And she's abandoning it because she knows which way the winds are blowing. Like this guy says, I bet she's changing her tune because New York's getting redder and she'd lose against a strong Republican candidate. I think that's part of it, but at a much deeper level, the writing is on the wall. So this here is capitulation. And you can look at it and you can say, oh, well, she's still different than us in these other ways, and advertise your own impotence. Or you can say, yeah, that's right, she's bending the knee, and she's going to bend the knee on everything else as well. And if she doesn't, she'll get crushed. Next. So here's her reply.
If they're here with legal papers, like they came and they're seeking asylum, like the 224,000 people who came to New York, they're here legally in search of asylum. And that process will play out. But there are other people who commit crimes or are known to be criminals before they arrived here. When those are identified, I'll be the first one to help get rid of them. I don't want them here. I don't want anybody terrorizing my citizens. So that's the difference.
I don't want anybody terrorizing my citizens. This from one of the more well-known members of the party that was recently known for defund the police and import as many illegal Haitians as possible. This is what taking power looks like. And another one. After publicly coming out against President Trump's mass deportation plan, Michelle Wu, the mayor of Boston, is now backtracking and saying that she never intended to pick a fight with border czar Tom Homan. Oopsie. Grug is on the case. Quote, my comments have never been directed towards the federal government or anyone except our own community members. Tom Homan's strong statements are working. All the woke mayors and governors have no strength when confronted. I wanted to highlight something here. Silver Pie said, incomplete thought, Elon is doing a great job of communicating his success is good for both sides. I agree. And for the Spurgs out there, it's good that he does that. If you don't recognize that it's good, that he frames this as good for everyone involved and maintains this very, compassionate, disciplined, open perspective about America and its potential, like that's his responsibility. And it's very good that he does that. And then there was something else here. I missed it. Oh, here. Kate said that last part made my jaws drop considering how many people have been terrorized under her watch in New York City by psychotic illegals. And I'll say, I think a lot of this is posturing. I think it's entirely cynical when she's saying it, but she's doing it for a reason, because she's under political pressure. The only reason she would be changing is if she was under political pressure. So get a concession now. And then when it's time for the next one, get a concession. When it's time for the next one, get a concession. When it's time for the next one, get a concession. Do I think that they're actually going to deport 20 million, 30 million, 50 million? I kind of doubt it. I've always doubted it. Do I think that they're going to stem the tide? Yes, 100%. Would it be nice if they stemmed it all together for a while? Yeah, 100%. Bringing in a bunch of Pajeets is not going to make things better. Oh, let me say it's not going to make things good. But if I have to choose between a bunch of Haitians and a bunch of Pajeets, I'll take the Pajeets. Because have you met Haitians? These are the political realities that we're dealing with. Now, I do believe that there are forces within the Trump orbit that 100% want to deport 20 plus million people. I think Stephen Miller means it 100%. And he's been there from the beginning. He's been 100% consistent on this, and he's going to have an influential role in pursuing that to whatever extent that he can. The way to make sure that happens is to keep expecting it to happen and keep talking about it like it's going to happen. And begin economically positioning yourself at whatever level of the hierarchy you are to benefit from that happening. That applies the economic pressure. The way to get it is not to sit around and cry about how here's all the reasons why it's never going to happen. Even if those reasons are true, focusing on them and amplifying them has a self-reinforcing effect. So if you actually complain about that stuff publicly, it tells me either one, you're retarded, or two, you're insincere. Those are the only options. I don't know which one's better. Take your pick. Straight Buster says some of these mayors and governors aren't calling the bluff that Trump will arrest them for harboring illegals. You're right. Because I don't think that it is a bluff. I think they would more than happily arrest some of these people. They would more than happily make a big show of it. It would be a test of their power, and I think they would win, and I think they know that they would win. Kate says, I don't know if Trump's admin will be able to deport 20 million on their own. However, I think they can indirectly by economically disincentivizing people from staying here and get them to self-deport. Right. I do think that is true. And I do think that is something that they will accomplish. Which is just, yes, I would like to have the perfect government that does exactly what I would do if I was in control of the government. Obviously. But the fact that we don't have that doesn't mean that we don't have something good. something that's worth supporting and worth motivating toward accomplishing those ends. This one here is very interesting because it tells me something about the state of mind of the Trump transition team. The Wall Street Mav tweeted this, and Elon replied to it and affirmed it, so I'm taking it as true. He said, the FBI has lost so much credibility that Trump's not even using them for background investigations of his nominees. Trump and his team are using private companies for background checks. He plans to override the usual process and grant security clearance his first day in office. Then once his own people are running the FBI, he will allow the FBI to do background checks. Now, if you remember, there was a story that was going a little bit ago that never really kind of broke out into the tier one commentary section, but there was conversation about how the Trump transition team, number one, they've been privately funded rather than waiting so they could get started early rather than waiting for the election and using government funds. But then there was like a bunch of paperwork that the White House wanted them to sign, and they did not want to sign it. And there was a back and forth on this. And then it was announced, they came to some agreement and they're going to be signing everything and moving in and moving forward with the process. And I wonder if it wasn't this particular issue right here, that, or at least that this was one of the issues, that they were holding it up because they were like, no, we need to have the FBI do all the background checks on you people. And they're like, yeah, that's not happening. So you can turn this into a bigger story if you want, or you can just concede, and we're going to do the background checks ourselves. The concern is that the current corrupted FBI, controlled by the deep state, will use their investigation process to nuke some of Trump's nominees, which they absolutely would do. Until Trump has his own people in the FBI and can bring a stop to the political motivation to attack his nominees, Trump has cut the FBI out of the process. And Elon said he's right. Speaking of the FBI, we now have a director for the nominee. But before we talk about that, I wanted to tell you guys about this really cool little project here. It's here on eBay. A Heritage American Family Calendar, Kids and Dogs, Traditional Conservative from 2020 for 2025. This is something put together by one of the guys in the King Pill Discord. He just dropped it in there because he said, he thought we might find it interesting. And I was like, this is freaking awesome. Can I shout this out on the show? And he gave me the go-ahead to shout it out on the show. So I'll drop the link in the description afterwards, the description of the show, whether it's here or on the podcatchers. Go to kingpill.substack.com for the full list of links that I do on the episode. And I'll also drop it in the description here on YouTube, and I'll put the link in the live chat so you guys can go get yourselves. Let's see, get your calendar here. This is not a paid ad at all. He dropped it in there, and I thought this was awesome, and I want to support one of our guys. Oh, it won't let me drop the ad in there. I'll have to do a tiny URL for it later. So just come back to the description later on. But this is how do I zoom in? I don't ever use eBay. Just a family project. They put the whole thing together, generated the images, and then when they get the orders, they just put them together there at home. So if you want to support a family business, get yourself a nice, wholesome 2025 calendar, and support one of our guys. Then go over to eBay and click the link. They're $20 a piece, and you're going to support a small family business. You should absolutely go do this. So I should have put together like a little tiny URL or something like that beforehand, but I'll do it and I'll drop it in the description later on so you guys can get yourselves a nice calendar. We're definitely going to be getting one. Okay, so Kash Patel, next FBI director. If you guys have been watching the show, you know about Kash Patel. I've talked about him before. Here's his background. So he served as the chief of staff to the Department of Defense and deputy assistant to President Trump. As the chief of staff at DoD, his responsibilities included implementing the secretary's no-fail mission with our 3 million plus employees, operating a $740 billion budget and $2 trillion in assets. He served as Deputy Director of National Intelligence, where he oversaw all 17 intelligence community agencies and prioritized intelligence collection to focus on hard targets and global threats. He led the director's mission to synthesize our intelligence holdings and create the president's daily briefing, which he then briefed to the president and cabinet officials. The president daily briefing is very important. Interestingly, it's Tulsi Gabbard who will now be in charge of that. But this means that he was close to the president on a regular basis, talking about national intelligence and developing a close relationship with him. He's a long documented extreme Trump loyalist. He led President Trump's counterterrorism mission as deputy assistant to the president on the National Security Council and helped President Trump on his top priorities, including eliminating al-Qaeda and ISIS senior leadership and safely repatriating dozens of American hostages. As the top counterterrorism official at the White House, he was responsible for creating and implementing our nation's policy to safeguard the homeland by overseeing the interagency implementation of the National Counterterrorism Strategy. So he was Trump's representative, deputy assistant to the president on the National Security Council. He served as the national, and this was an initiative that was quite successful. Kash served as the National Security Advisor and Senior Counsel for the House Permanent Select Committees on Intelligence, or HPSI, where he spearheaded the investigation into the Russian Active Measures campaign to influence the 2016 presidential election, Russiagate. This is one of the most important aspects and why it's so significant that he's being appointed director of the FBI. The investigation discovered numerous illegal surveillance measures undertaken by the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation to unlawfully spy on the Trump campaign. Concurrently, he led congressional oversight of sensitive programs for the intelligence community and U.S. Special Operations Forces, and worked to enact legislation to fully fund the multi-billion-dollar budget supporting intelligence and counterterrorism operations worldwide. He worked as a national security prosecutor at the DOJ under the Obama administration, where he led investigations spanning multiple theaters of conflict and oversaw the successful prosecution of criminals aligned with al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other terror groups. This work necessitated Mr. Patel's presence in locations across the globe, collaborating with host nation governments to successfully prosecute terrorists. He also served as the DOJ liaison officer to Joint Special Operations Command, working with our nation's most prestigious counterterrorism units, Special Forces, to conduct collaborative global targeting operations against high-value objectives in almost every theater of war. Kash began his career as a public defender, trying scores of complex cases in federal and state courts, ranging from murder and narco trafficking to complex financial crimes. So he's obviously eminently qualified for the position, just from if you want to put yourself in the standard beltway mindset, looking at his CV, he's eminently qualified for the position. He's also way too qualified for the position from the perspective of the beltway. He knows where way too many of the bodies are buried. And he's way too close to President Trump, close friends with Steve Bannon, and like the hardcore, most radical part of the MAGA base. Those are the people that he's closest to. This is 100% an our guy appointment to director of the FBI. And this is what it's going to look like at FBI headquarters on his first day.
Get ready, because I am coming for you. Prepare yourself, because I am literally going to sodomize you on the battlefield. I'm going to have non-consensual sex with your face and butt. And then I'm coming for your wife and your kids.
Hey, Rafi. Jukebox. I'm going to put $7 worth of hoobastank in it, and I'm coming back to hang with you, bros. Get ready.
He looks like an insane person. The memes have been fantastic. This show was this is pure slop. This is one of my favorite slop shows of all time, The League. If you're a fantasy football guy, you'll extra appreciate it. That was a long time ago. So if you don't know who Kash Patel is, here's a taste. He's been personally persecuted by some of the most pernicious deep state ops, and he's proven himself eminently loyal to President Trump. This is a Gates-esque pick that will get all the usual suspects just as wound up.
The FBI's footprint has gotten so freaking big, and the biggest problem the FBI has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops. Go be cops. Go chase down murderers and drug dealers and violent offenders. What do you need 7,000 people there for? Same thing with DOJ. What are all these people doing here? Looking for their next government promotion, looking for their next fancy government title, looking for their parachute out of government. So while you're bringing in the right people, you also have to shrink government. The FBI's footprint has gotten so
You should go listen to his conversation with on the Sean Ryan show. There's lots and lots of good stuff in there, and he gets into all the details of he was working in Devin Nunes' office when he's the one who wrote the memo about revealed the Peter Strzok Lisa Page relationship, and was an integral part of the whole Russiagate thing from the defensive Trump side. He was very, very closely involved in it, and he himself has been targeted. And there was, I think it was it Google? I think that sent him a letter letting him know, hey, the 5-year gag order has just been let up, and we can now let you know that you were illegally surveilled by the federal government. They requested us give a whole bunch of your personal information over to them, and he's in the act of suing them for all that right now. So this is just another. There's guys that'll give you all sorts of reasons about why this sucks and why it's stupid and why it's going to fail and whatever. And I'm saying, like, these people need to be shunned out of existence. Just block them. Don't engage with them. There's like this sort of performative hypocrisy thing where you have to engage with them to say don't engage with them. Even me saying don't engage with them is engaging with them. But they got to go. Like, the black pillars got to go. The black pillars go in the crystals before the libs do. At least the libs are just retarded. These guys are like retarded, and their souls are completely poisoned. All they can do is just obsess about it's like a weird cuck fetish or something. Like, they obsess about being oppressed and dragged down and harmed and wronged. It's exceptionally gay. This is yet another example of Trump putting somebody into a position of power who has been personally aggrieved by that institution that he is now going to be the head of. If someone had described this to any of us like 2 years ago, hey, Trump's going to get reelected with a massive mandate, and he's going to staff a bunch of his significant cabinet roles with people who have a serious axe to grind with that institution. And he's going to have Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are whipping the public into a furor over slashing $2 trillion from the federal budget. This was like, oh, there's no way things will change that fast. And then we get to the point, and it's, oh, no, it's just all cynical. Nothing, none of it's ever going to work. Everything's just going to be bad forever. Well, you know what? If you're one of those people, I do know things are going to be bad forever for you, because you are actively choosing to manifest that reality on a regular basis. Okay. I got to jam through all this stuff here, and I just realized that it's already 5 o'clock, so let's keep it hopping. An interesting, you know what? I'm going to bail on this story here. We're going to talk about a little Bitcoin stuff, but I'm going to bail on that for now and save this for tomorrow's show so I can condense some stuff. So let's talk about Pizza Hut nationalism. Get the screen to share. All right, so I'm going to give you guys some context. I'm going to play this video here for you, because then I'm going to read a tweet that references it, and I want you guys to know what he's talking about. So this couple made their garage into a vintage Pizza Hut, and it's amazing.
This love in my heart that I'm feeling for you. Let them say we're crazy. I don't care about that. Put your hand in my hand, baby. Don't ever look back. Let the world around us just fall apart. Baby, we can make it if we're heart to heart. And we can build this thing together, standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now. And if this world runs out of lovers, we'll still have each other. Nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us now. I'm so glad I found you. I'm not gonna lose you, whatever it takes.
I love late 80s power pop. It just gets me right in the feels. Grew up listening to it and being surrounded by it. Reminds me of being a young one, looking bright-eyed into the world, into the future. Everything's wholesome. The time is coming back. I love this. I'm not going to expose you guys to the shitty takes on this, because I I thought about it. I was like, no. We're not gonna expose those people. They need to remain unseen. But Jack Posobiec has a good point here. He says, as much as I appreciate that Pizza Hut garage that's going viral, the central tenet of Pizza Hut nationalism is returning these third spaces to the public at large, not simply attempting to recreate them for private use. The goal is community, not further atomization. I think this is I appreciate the nuanced point that he's making here, that there's something that's performative about it. That's a little hollow. It's nostalgic. It's kind of sentimental. It's like we have to create this thing because it's been lost in the public square. But like, that's a necessary step. So I think this is good. The point he's making here is like, that's good, but it can't be just that. That spirit needs to be brought into the public square, and we need to have an appreciation for the necessity of a public square and a certain type of vibe and decorum that is collectively maintained by everybody within that public square. And having these sorts of public spaces where you can go participate in these things with other people and all share in that vibe. You know, like I imagine walking around some sort of downtown area in the winter. There's snow, there's Christmas lights, there's like Christmas decorations, bright lights all over, and everyone's all bundled up, and the snow is softly falling, and everyone's walking around happy. Having those sorts of public spaces is good, but they don't just spring up out of the ground. They have to be cultivated. They went away, and you can point to a lot of different reasons why they went away, but fundamentally it's because they were not cultivated. Ultimately, we're responsible for them going away. Someone may have taken them away, but we're responsible for allowing them to be taken. And so we have to rebuild them ourselves. So I appreciate this thought from Jack. And then Mike Benz has a really interesting point about this. Now, I don't know why he chose to add this flicker effect on this video, but it makes it very difficult to watch. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit, but you want to be able to kind of see what's on the screen. So if you're at all given over to epilepsy, then I would recommend not watching and just listening.
To foster harmony and peace among the peoples of the world.
This is why I always say, listen, I understand if you're a libertarian. His 10-part series, free to choose. But it means something far more complex and actually contrary to the core thesis of Milton Friedman once you understand how the machinery actually works.
Горбачев. Это из-за него у нас в экономике бардак.
Да благодаря ему у нас новые возможности.
Это из-за него у нас политическая нестабильность.
I realized that there was captions on this, so I guess you kind of have to watch it because they're speaking Russian and there's captions. So I guess you're going to hear it in Russian if you're just listening. I'll back it up here for those of you who may have not been watching, because I'm not going to sit here and read all of them off.
Это Горбачев. Это из-за него у нас в экономике бардак.
Да благодаря ему у нас новые возможности.
Это из-за него у нас политическая нестабильность.
Да благодаря ему у нас свобода.
Полный хаос.
Перспективы.
Политическая нестабильность.
Да благодаря ему у нас есть Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut acquired 200 million new pizza buyers for its pizza products because Russia was opened by the State Department successfully winning the Cold War because of the National Endowment for Democracy and the CIA and the State Department funding the revolutionary movements in Poland, funding the revolutionary movements in Germany to pry off all the satellite states of the Soviet Union, induce an economic collapse in Russia by Royal Dutch Shell, ExxonMobil. This is a Pizza Hut ad saying, shit, our government's broken. Our country sucks. This guy's a puppet. He's running our country into the ground. And Pizza Hut proudly runs an ad saying, we got pizza though. Okay. You win, CIA. We get
Our economy crashed 95%. We had to privatize all of our state-owned assets and have them be bought up personally by George Soros in the 1990s. But hey, the Chamber of Commerce, they're getting rich off of us. It's because the CIA installed Boris Yeltsin, who faxed the National Endowment for Democracy for permission before he bombed his own parliament building because the Russians so hated being a CIA vassal state. So the president rolled out his control over the military with the tanks, with the backing of the CIA, to bomb his parliament into submission. That's how Pizza Hut won the market for pizza in Russia. It ain't the magic of the pencil. Do you understand?
One of the most, the editing was too much. But the is one of the most masterful takedowns of the naive libertarian theory of the free market that I've ever seen. It was under the auspices of the free market that all of this was perpetrated, incredibly cynically. That's not a criticism of the Pizza Hut brand writ large. It's not a criticism of the old Pizza Hut spaces that we had that were taken from us, because this is part of the same process. But this is what naive free market individualism, that it's just a cover. It's a propaganda cover for exactly this phenomenon. If I had a little bit longer, I'd go back and break down the conversation between the father and the son, because I think there's a lesson to be had in there. And I'll just say it quickly, which is that they're both looking at the same thing. One of them says this is good, one of them says this is bad. And you get the classic conservative progressive dichotomy, the older generation, younger generation. And ultimately, I place the fault for that on the older generation. Because if the younger generation strays too far outside the bounds of acceptability, looking for opportunity, that's a criticism of the boundaries that were laid by the older generations. And it's the responsibility of the older generations to not just build the fence and then move on and forget why it's there, forget that it's there, and be like, we're just going to keep it just because it's there. Sometimes the fence needs to be moved. And so more broadly, the young people are all full of vim and vigor and they want opportunity. And so they're susceptible to being sold propaganda based on opportunity or whatever. The only way that's possible is if the society is already degenerating. And if the society is degenerating to the point where the younger people are feeling restless and dissatisfied with it, that's a critique of the older generation for allowing it to get to that point. That's not to remove responsibility from the younger generation. They're still responsible for their actions, but we have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time here. Okay, so everyone knows Joe Biden pardoned his son, which, I mean, it's funny that it was so newsworthy and everyone's got to fire off all their takes on it as if it was unexpected. I thought it was a foregone conclusion that this is going to happen. But it's interesting the way that it's panned out. So Zero Hedge here says, do you know why Biden picked 2014 as the first year of Hunter's pardon? And here's the text of the pardon. To all to whom these presents shall come, greeting, be it known that this day I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States, pursuant to my powers under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution, have granted unto Robert Hunter Biden a full and unconditional pardon for those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1, 2014 through December 1, 2024, including but not limited to all offenses charged or prosecuted, including any that have resulted in convictions, by Special Counsel David C. Weiss and docket blah 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 blah. In testimony whereof I have hereunto signed my name and caused the pardon to be recorded with the Department of Justice, done at the city of Washington this first day of December in the year of our Lord 2024, and of the independence of the United States the 249th. It's very funny to me to see these official documents written in this sort of language today. It just is so just a holdover of a bygone era. I'm not saying it's bad necessarily, but it's very British. So here in 2014, Burisma Holdings, Ukraine's largest private gas producer, has expanded its board of directors by bringing on Mr. R. Hunter Biden as a new director. So that's when he was appointed director of Ukraine's Burisma, starting a sequence of events that almost ended in World War III, and so we go full circle. Now, I'm going to say, I have no problem with him pardoning him. If I was in his shoes, I would pardon him as well. And I think this is absolutely a political win for a number of reasons. One, because it really expands the scope of pardons that Trump himself can engage in, which he could have engaged in them anyways, but it just makes it a lot easier. Number two, because what this now does is, if there are any investigations launched into this entire period of time, Hunter can no longer plead the fifth. Because now he can't incriminate because he's already been pardoned for everything that happened in that time period. But he can, if he perjures himself, he's not exempt from prosecution if he perjures himself in that process. So this, to me, goes squarely into the Biden voted for Trump folder. There was some, I can't remember if it was talked about in this story. No, there's no way it was in here. Yeah, I didn't pull it up, but it was another interview that Mike Benz was giving, and he said that he heard from a well-placed source, I believe it was Mike Benz. Anyway, someone on the internet said they were talking to someone close to Hunter Biden, and it was said that over Thanksgiving weekend, Hunter was talking to his dad and was, he's like, I'm going to have my sentencing on December 12th. And I think I'm going to write a book. I'm going to have lots of time in prison. I think I might just write a book about everything. And that's the reason why Biden decided to pardon him after saying for years that he wasn't going to. But that could be true. I'm going to continue to live in the world where Biden voted for Trump and Biden gave him this win on purpose as another middle finger to his former handlers on the way out. Here's some background. Hunter Biden was advancing a CIA project in Ukraine to swing the natural gas market towards NATO, and that's why he was untouchable. Got to speed this one up just a little bit.
I just have to break this down in a video to make it perfectly plain and clear to people what's happening with Hunter Biden and the CIA. Why was I saying a year and a half ago that the reason Hunter Biden is untouchable by the Justice Department is because he was part of a CIA operation, multiple ones actually. You have to understand what's going on here. Okay, so let me just give you a dozen data points on Hunter Biden and CIA. So the first thing is Hunter was on the chairman's advisory board of the National Democratic Institute, the NDI. Okay, the NDI is the DNC wing of the National Endowment for Democracy, which is the top CIA cutout used in our tens of thousands of NGO swarms. NED ranks number one. It was created to be a NGO affiliate of the CIA. It was created to do overtly what the CIA was doing covertly and getting in trouble for doing in the 20th century, created under the Reagan administration in 1983. And there's something called the NDI for Democrats and the IRI for Republicans, the CIA wing of the Republican Party. And they both split spoils, basically on U.S. foreign policy jobs that the CIA orchestrates. You don't get to be part of the chairman's advisory committee of the NDI unless you are CIA linked or CIA vetted. It is a CIA. It's a gongo, except it's a Congo, if you will. NGOs, government organized, non-governmental organizations. This is a CIA organized non-Conco, a CIA organized non-CIA organization. Okay, it's the CIA. Okay, and he's on the chairman's advisory board of that. And oh, by the way, when he was at Burisma, who was the other person on the Burisma board from the U.S. there was Cover Black, who had spent 30 years in the CIA. Cover Black was Mitt Romney's Sherpa to the intelligence community during his presidential run in 2012. And you know what? Mitt Romney's on the board of the IRI, who I just mentioned, the International Republican Institute, the CIA cutout counterpart to the NDI. Okay, Burisma was a CIA operation. Okay, let me say this again. Burisma was a CIA operation. Okay, so was Naftogaz. That's the public and then respectively the private and public natural gas companies there. There were a couple other private ones in addition to Burisma. But the CIA was trying to break down Gazprom and swing the gas market from Russia to NATO. Okay, they've been trying to do this for 16 friggin' years. It's been an in-process CIA, State Department, Pentagon project for 16 friggin' years. Okay, they were trying to capacity build Burisma and shift its board to make it U.S. controlled. They're doing the same thing simultaneously with Naftogaz, the feeder that Burisma feeds into. You can even read about the power struggle between George Soros and Vladimir Putin for control over Naftogaz, the state-owned titan that has been the privatization prize of the IMF. That was part of the reason that we overthrew the Ukrainian government in 2014, is to privatize those assets because we knew that we were going to be cutting Russia off. So Western stakeholders wanted to profit from this $1 trillion windfall if Russia could be kicked out of the European energy market. This is common activity for the Central Intelligence Agency, which was created by corporate lawyers in 1947 as its first class, okay? The corporate espionage side of the CIA operation here has geopolitical dimensions. If you kill Russia's energy exports, you kill their military, which means you kill their ability to run air defense systems to Syria. You kill their ability to run small arms to sub-Saharan Africa to oppose, U.S. control over lithium and cobalt and copper and aluminum and gold and oil and gas there too. This was a long-range CIA project where Hunter Biden happened to be ass deep in exactly the number one geopolitical target of what the CIA was doing under the Obama administration, which is trying to kill Russia's energy exports. So meanwhile, you had this endogenous Ukrainian gas company that Hunter's on the board of. And by the way, who's Hunter's dad at the time? It's Joe.
You know who has no natural beef with Russia, particularly on this specific issue? The United States. And this is a great example of what Tom Luongo talks about. That he says we have the American empire, but it just so turns out that the American empire has British foreign policy, British law, British intelligence. This is a great example of how the CIA acts like a wing of the British intelligence community. This is the way British intelligence functions.
Biden, the vice president in charge of the Ukraine portfolio, but Joe Biden spent 30 years on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, 10 years rotating between chairman and ranking member. That is the coordinating wing of the Senate with the State Department and the CIA, okay? Specifically Central and Eastern Europe. Joe Biden was hugely involved in the Yugoslavia operation in the late 1990s and breaking that up, which again was a CIA job, okay? That's why you have to understand the structure of the blob. Whenever you see the State Department, the CIA is there and the Pentagon are there, and you just don't see it yet. Whenever you see the CIA, the State Department, and the Pentagon there, you just don't see it yet, okay? It was like, and even British intelligence is all over this LNG story. And you don't get British intelligence without U.S. intelligence. The fact is they need the CIA will lean on the Justice Department. I just did 6 hours of subscriber streams about the relationship between CIA and DOJ, and that the CIA will lean on DOJ to kill investigations into criminal activity involving assets of the CIA, so that they can continue to do work that's in the U.S. national interest, even if it's a criminal enterprise. Because the CIA has a license to do that. They have the license to crime under NSC 10-2. The license to do criminal activity, as long as it's plausibly deniable. And Hunter Biden was a part of a plausibly deniable CIA operation to swing the gas market towards NATO. Okay, that's why it's untouchable.
Now, I think Benz gets some of the causality backwards here, and I don't know whether to attribute that to him being some sort of deep fed, or if it's just because he is simply operating from the perspective that the vast majority of people have, which is that America is the dominant power, and then the American empire, and yada yada yada. The CIA is running the show. He says where you have American intelligence, you have British intelligence. I think that goes the other way around. I guess maybe you could put it in that sense as well. If American intelligence is there, then British intelligence is there as well, because the CIA was essentially co-opted by a combination of MI6 and Mossad between the 50s and 70s. Over that period, it was gradually co-opted. And so the United States has no natural interest in this whole thing, but it's of crucial interest to the UK. They have a centuries-old fight going back with Russia. And it all winds up having to do with, number one, trade with the East, and mineral rights and energy, because Britain does not have its own natural source of abundant resources that they can function with. They have to get it from someone. And so they have a very strong incentive for Russia to be kneecapped. This fight's been going on for centuries, and Hunter Biden has found himself square in the middle of the entire thing. And now he just got pardoned by his father, blatantly corruptly. Even if I would, yes, I believe fathers should pardon their sons. I'm not going to begrudge a father for pardoning his son, whatever the circumstances. But by him being pardoned, He now no longer has the ability to plead the fifth, were they to decide to actually pursue this type of investigation with someone like Matt Gaetz, Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, anybody who has a bone to pick with this entire blob, which happens to be like almost every single person involved with the Trump administration. They have had the door flung wide open. Okay, I gotta boot myself up here. Wifejak discourse. Okay, so for those of you who aren't on Twitter, haven't been exposed to the Wifejak discourse, I'm going to recommend 2 episodes that I've heard about it that are good. They're good listens. One was The Prudentialist was talking about this in his, I just forgot the name of it, is it Discourse Corner? Is that what it's called? Anyways, one of the recent episodes, it has Wifejak in the title, and also Dave the Distributist. And the Dave the Distributist one was particularly interesting. I'll get to that here in just a minute. So this is the Wifejak meme. Clossington says, the Wifejak is charming and relatable. There's nothing particularly mean-spirited or resentful about this meme, and I find it refreshing. So here's an example of the meme. Shout out to Jay Ford. We should start a garden with the Wifejak. Would you still love me if I was a worm? I'm not joking, with the Wifejak. Also down here was Geo. I didn't order what I wanted, with the Wifejak. We're out of milk. Amy Therese says, I don't want fries. I'll just have one of yours. This is, if you get the meme, you already get it. Just from seeing the ones I've showed you, you already get it. There's something that's kind of, is why it just makes it just doesn't make me feel good to talk about this in this way, but I think it needs to be done. Like, you get it. You get the meme already, especially if you're married. You wouldn't necessarily have to be married. You would just have to have like a modicum of social skills and have been around other people for a little bit. But you get the meme immediately. It's very wholesome. Women are cute and silly, and we love them for being cute and silly. We happen to like women here, folks. Yeah, I'm cold. This is like stuff wives say. Silly, cute, sometimes exasperating things that wives say, completely banal. It's just like a part of the normal experience that you have as a married couple. It's like observational humor that the people to whom it's relevant, it's extremely relevant and extremely relatable immediately. But then you have this type of thing, new meme for wife guys to come out and openly admit they're miserable and that women are insufferable, stupid skanks. Same guys will still shame you for being an incel. Wild. How do you... Okay, now I know how you possibly get it this wrong. But most people don't want to come out and advertise these sorts of things about themselves. But apparently it's like these guys are wearing a gigantic neon sign that says... like... It says, I get no pussy. I don't know how women work. I resent women because I'm weak and soft, and I resent them for weighing me down and oppressing me. So I'm going to target my little ire at the wife guys for liking women. Do you understand how gay you sound? And I'm not saying like gay just as an insult. I'm saying literally gay. Here's something about the background of the Wifejak. The origin of Wifejak being a Redditor making a Wojak of herself while talking like a Wifejak makes it way funnier. This chick posted this 3 years ago. Haven't drawn in a while, so I figured a Wojak of myself could be a fun little project, smiley face. Women are supposed to be cute and silly. This is a woman being cute and silly. If you have a problem with this, your heart is poisoned. Your soul is poisoned. You're a gay nihilist. If you're going to be cynical about people wholesomely posting wholesome memes because it's relatable to them, You have a poisoned soul. I intentionally curate slop here because slop is the domain of the normies. And the normies are the vast majority of people. If you have contempt for it, you're showing that you have contempt for normies. This is not elite behavior. There's nothing aristocratic about it. You are simply aping the mindset and behavior of the people you claim to hate. The rootless cosmopolitans who look down their noses at the chuds. Now, before I go into more of this, this is the perfect take. This is the perfect take. This is why I feel so dirty talking about this. So, good friend of the show, Harry Bergeron on Twitter, at Tysonberg, he says, this is why God says no gays. You enjoy a marriage meme, then some tortured Zoomer expresses his turmoil by attacking it, and now you have to defend something that isn't that funny. Now we're all gossiping queens. Look at what they've done. Look what the homosexuals have done. This is the take right here. Yes, now we're all gossiping queens having to defend this thing that shouldn't even need to be defended. It should just be evident. I don't know why it seems so radical to say things like, I don't know, marriage and family are good. And this is the one that really kicked it off. So Andrew Torba posted this one. You've got Wifejak, then you've got Husbandjak, which is just like, Prudentialist said that this is great. The Husbandjak is great because like he knows like 20 guys who look like this. The stubble, the hair, the blue flannel shirt, blue and white flannel shirt. Like this is just incredibly relatable. This is Husbandjak. And then you've got the kids in the back seat. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round. And here's the wife sitting here all cozy playing on her phone. Every single person, every single man with a wife and children has experienced this. And as you experience it, you experience two things at the same time. One of them is, oh my God, it's so loud. I just can't, I can't even hear myself think. And on the other, and at the same time, you wouldn't trade it for anything. Because family and the mundane, banal experiences of family is the core of society. It is the fundamental unit. The family, it's a reflection of the Trinity. It's a manifestation of the image of God in us. And family life isn't like some sexy Hallmark movie. It's mundane. It's a mashup of cuteness and silliness and exasperation and constantly has you at your wit's end. And that's the beauty of it. Because family is the thing that God has given us to wear off our hard edges, to learn how to relate to one another, how to be a better person. As a man, your wife's sacred duty is to be a mirror to you, showing you how flawed and fucked up you are. And I unshared before I talked about the other. So, friend of the show, Cringe Walker, replied to this and says, this is all I want from life. So you've got the young man. This is what he's aspiring to. He wants his wife. He wants his kids in the back seat. And he wants to go do mundane life things with his family and listen to his kids singing in the back seat. I'm not gonna get into who posted this that kicked everything off. You can go listen to the Dave the Distributist conversation with Pragmatic Culture. But that conversation was very telling to me. Because I think Pragmatic Culture was he's a self-described groiper. But he was very reasonable. He was very good faith. He was there, seems like a really nice guy, smart, well-spoken. And really, like, I don't know, probably more than half of the stream was just them arguing about the Groypers. And it just reinforced my opinion about the Groypers. Nothing against that guy personally, but it just reinforced my opinion of him. But they started off talking about this interaction and everything associated with that. And what he said was the thing that I really want to highlight that he brought as the core of whoever has a problem with the Wifejak meme, the thing they have a problem with is the wife guy. So they equate happy family, happy mundane family life with the like sitcom representation of a guy who just sits there and lays over and lets his wife walk all over him and do whatever. And so they don't like this because they think this is like this is weak and pussified soy men. Like loving your wife and having kids and reveling in the moments even when they drive you crazy somehow makes you like gay. You couldn't be more wrong. This is the definition of heterosexuality. I said the real homosexuality test is whether a guy can admit a woman is both cute and silly and exasperating, and that's why we think they're cute and silly. It's easy to be attracted to women when they're being cute and silly, but you're not truly heterosexual unless you also find them attractive when they're being exasperating. Skilos Rising said, this is, of course, why the only true misogynists are gay men. Untethered by a fundamental desire to get female love, the gays are free to flower into a full hatred of women rather than jilted, angry disappointment. And the thing that really stuck out to me that this pragmatic culture guy said to Dave the Distributist is that he endorsed this notion that came straight from the top, if you know what I mean, that aspiring to familial life is not proper for a man. That this sentiment of this is all I want. I want my wife and I want my kids and I want to engage in family life with my wife and my kids. This is not proper to man. Men should be doing things that matter. And if you properly do things that matter, then a helpful side effect of that is having a wife and kids. But your family should not be your highest priority. And this is categorically wrong and gay. I don't necessarily hold it against these guys for thinking this way. Because like I said before, if the younger generation's fucked up, it's because the older generation dropped the ball. These guys haven't actually experienced or had modeled for them what proper family life is like. Whether personally or just on like a social collective level, they have like a sitcom's view of the world because they grew up on sitcoms. But you can't come to the table with a sitcom worldview and also fancy yourself like the smartest one in the room, and everybody just needs to lay down and accommodate you. No, you're a retarded little boy. You need to learn how the world works. And you definitely can't like LARP as a Christian or something. It's like, oh, we're bringing back trad Christianity, but families shouldn't be your highest pursuit. What are you talking about? Family is not just like something that you happen to get blessed with if you're successful enough. You are born into a family. You were born into obligations to that family. And then as a man, you will create another family. And you will be bound first and foremost by your obligations to that family. That's why when you get married, you make a lifetime oath to your spouse. That is your top priority. That is the highest good for you, is your family. Your family has been given to you as a blessing, and it's your responsibility to tend your family, and that is what will save you. Not like, oh, you got to check off the list. No, the act of caring for and attending to your family and failing at it constantly and confronting that failure and repenting of it and constantly recommitting yourself to your family, that's the thing that saves you. So if you're a young man on the internet and you stumble across a group of guys who express all this hostility toward women because of the long house, and we need to punish women, you're not really a man unless you kind of hate women. You're listening to homosexuals. Heterosexual men do not think and speak that way. They may be married. They may engage in intercourse with females. But that doesn't change the fact that they're spiritually gay. Don't listen to them. Because what they're conditioning you to do is to operate out of resentment and direct your hostility at women, as if women are responsible for all the shit that men did to drop the ball. The reason they're doing that is because they're operating as tools of the powers and principalities that hate you and want to see you destroy yourself. They can't destroy you, but they can induce you into destroying yourself by deciding to be hostile to women. Newsflash, being a man who dedicates his life to hostility toward women or adopting this posture of like, I'm too good for women and women should bow and respect me. And if they don't, then I'm entitled to be resentful and spiteful toward them. That's not a good recipe for life success. Go look at Ron Paul's timeline. Look at the picture that he posted of his family. That's what heterosexuality looks like. And if you think that's cringy or gay, if you think having a good relationship with your wife and wanting her to be happy and wanting to spend time with her and loving your kids and wanting to spend time with your kids, if you think that's beneath you, you are literally, I'm not using this ironically, you are literally a homosexual. I'll show you one. Again, I'm not going to show you who posted it. I don't want to give him the attention. This is the sort of thing I'm responding to. And if it was just a bunch of shit posters online, like I've got a pretty high tolerance for jokes and shit posts and stuff. But this sort of thing is like crack for resentful young men who need to be steered away from that resentment, not steered into it. If you look at this on the top and your mind sees this on the bottom, you need to log off. For the sake of your own soul. Because this is some dark, dark shit. And if your mind fills this picture in with this, that's coming from your own head, man. Those sorts of things don't need to be made public. And this is a pretty mild version of it. I love me some shit posting. I love me some shock humor. I'm not gonna police people's memes. But I'm gonna tell you, if you're a young dude who sort of feels aimless, and this sort of thing feels like it resonates with you in some way, don't go there. Find yourself a community of people who don't traffic in this sort of shit. Because this is really, really spiritually perverse. You don't want the stain of this on you. I didn't really want to show it, but I want to drive the point home here. This here, the human embodiment of Wifejak, I'm telling you, this is extremely wholesome. And if it doesn't strike you as wholesome, that should tell you something. My brother started making a PowerPoint presentation with every movie we watched because he got so tired of my mom asking so many questions.
They say your mother is an immortal goddess.
Yes, that is Brad Pitt. He's currently 60 years old. He was 41 when this movie was filmed. And Angelina Jolie divorced him in 2016. He has 6 kids. He divorced Jennifer Aniston in 2000-something or other. There's mom. There's the Wifejak. This is incredibly wholesome. We love our wives, don't we, folks? Anyways, I think I have a super chat back here that I missed, so let me grab that real quick. Hermetic Hegemony. Thank you, brother. $5. He says, just because women don't like you doesn't mean you have to become a groper. Groping is bad, folks. Yes, a groper. I don't know if that typo was intentional. You did it twice, so maybe it was intentional. Don't give in to the resentment, man. This is what Jason has talked about. The vengeful son. The vengeful son is not a prescription. It's a warning. The vengeful son is the same spirit as the devouring mother. If you allow yourself to be embodied by the vengeful son, you're not warring against the devouring mother. You are instantiating her. The only way that you can actually fight back or rid the influence of the devouring mother is by refusing the call to the vengeful son. The purpose of the devouring mother, the purpose of the manifestation of that spirit was to create vengeful sons. It's the same spirit that's transmogrifying through human resentment to manifest itself in a reaction to the original spirit. Don't let yourself be pulled into it. Particularly now, on the cusp of so many great things with so much opportunity opening up in front of us. Don't allow yourself to be waylaid by this gay juvenile shit. Another $5 from Hermetic Hegemony. He says, no understanding is anything other than a status symbol, like having a well-groomed beard. Yes. All right. I got to get out of here, boys. Got a call to get to. So I appreciate you. Thank you for showing up. Do me a favor and hit the like button. We're at 96. We almost got to 100. We missed it the last couple episodes, but we're almost there. Appreciate you guys. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. Go to the King Pill Discord or go to kingpill.com. Sign up. Join the King Pill Discord. We'll have the Schizo stream on Wednesday night this week. And you can also help me pay some of my bills. Go to buymeacoffee.com/kingpilled if you like what I'm doing. You can buy me a coffee. I think it's buy me a beer technically, but you can throw a couple bucks my way there. And then follow me on Twitter at RealKingPilled. And I will be back tomorrow with another episode of the ASTROLABE. Until then, I give you Hulk.
They're my hero. And they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania